Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Ask the Experts for the 5th of April. It is Tuesday. I am Capolingua. I'm the market analyst over at Think Markets, and it is a pleasure to be with you as we delve into the depths of your portfolio and get your questions answered about stocks, commodities, indices, whatever you like. Apart from that, very simple with this introduction. It's over to you, VML. Which is Vital Metals. It looks like we've done a fair bit of work on this one in the past. This one's for Roberto. Looks pretty good, Roberto. I can't remember the last time exactly we talked about it, but I'm guessing it was something about we need to see, let me just get rid of that for a sec, we need to see price action that looks like this. I'm guessing we needed to see it here. And the good news is we did. So everything's good there. I think the other things we might have talked about is that we may see some natural expected supply come into the market around this POS here, stands for point of supply, and this POS here also stands for point of supply. They're just places where dead wood exists in the market. So all of this dead wood is we need to trade with them. The only way we can get rid of this dead wood is to trade with them. They're waiting to get out of positions they've been in for ages now, watching all these other wonderful stocks go up, being frustrated that Vital Metals hasn't. So they're looking at any opportunity to get back to break even and take their profits. And I said that you probably, and looking at this arrow down here, I probably said something like, we need to see an influx in volume at those points of supply to tell us that we are actually trading with those people, getting rid of them. So it looks like I was pretty spot on with the analysis. The good news is, got to delete all this stuff and start again. The good news is we are in the nice price action through here. We do have that volume as suggested, and we have cleared a couple of these points of supply. There is still one nagging one there, isn't it? I mean, let's face it, this one is still an issue, and that's going to be around that 7.5 cents. I would not be surprised to see some supply come in here and just impede an easy run through. So it's a little bit of a supply in here impeding the ability to just push straight through there. Therefore, we might get a little bit of a pullback. Where do we then start to think about, maybe if you don't have this one, potentially buying it? Well, those old points of supply tend to act as points of demand in the future. So this old POS here tends to act as a POD down here, and we're probably going to see a little bit of catch up from our dynamic support zones in our short-term moving average, light green zone, and the longer-term zone, which is turning up, which is nice. They'll sort of be trundling up, and we may even see sort of anything around 6.5 with some nice candles giving us a buying opportunity. What will those candles look like? They will look very much like the opposite of that one. So we've got a shadow pointing up, very small body. Imagine a shadow pointing down a long way with a very small body. I just can't see any clear white ones, that's all. So let's go with that, but turn it upside down. And this is more like the one we want to see potentially following that, which is the full white bodies. So this one is a very strong chart. I think it's gaining in momentum. There's a few impediments to deal with, and therefore I would be more of a hold, I think, right now than a straight out buy. But I think it's one you certainly can keep an eye on. I do like the volume there as well. So a solid hold, not quite a buy. I'd need to see some of those things happening. Just expanding on some comments here from Roberto. He said it's broken through the trading wedge since Jan 22. Maybe that's the last time we covered it. Canadian-based lithium explorer received significant institutional funding to progress. There's a bit more colour there for you. Okay, Craig's come in with LMG. Let's have a look at that one. LatrobeMagnesium, LMG. Looks good. Looks good. I like this. Not today's candle. It's not amazing, but yesterday's candle was very impressive. So I like this, and I do like to see it coming on some volume. I would have liked to see it come on a bit more volume. Volume, a bit like the knob on your stereo. Turn it up real high. It means there's people across the street are going to hear you rocking it out, and they're going to come over and investigate. Hey, look, where's the party? So if you can get lots of volume as well for your stocks, it's people being interested in coming over and saying, hey, look, where's the party? Do I want to be involved? And not the opposite for low volume. So that's good. Bit of a base pattern through here that looks pretty solid. Long-term uptrend, short-term trend trying to change. Similar to the last one in that we're going to have a POS here. We're going to have a POS here. We've got a big POS here. It looks pretty warm. Let's say some things we'd like to see to turn it into a hot stock that we can actually buy. I'd like to see a bit more price action that looks like this. So we want to see any sort of pullback. It doesn't have to go up first, but just any sort of pullback and hold of this little zone in here. Okay, so any trough that's pulling back and holding above there with the candles we spoke about in the last one would start to look very good. So look, again, another very solid hold. I need to see a couple more things happening to upgrade it to a buy, but it's actually pretty close, I think. So I don't mind that one at all. That one's for Craig. The next one is ARU. This one's been going gangbusters, isn't it? One we've covered many times in these sessions. And yeah, look, I mean, you've obviously done very well. You can see some of the things we've talked about already today in terms of, sort of trading with supply in these levels. You can see the breakout there, and more importantly, that breakout coming with some good volume to tell us that we have removed that supply. Interestingly, the volume actually stayed pretty high all the way through into today's candle, which is ugly. And really, if I had this one, then I would be taking some steps to exit today, at least part of my position. To be fair, it hasn't given us any reason to exit up to this point. So none of these candles are strong enough to signal an exit. Which is wonderful, because if you follow my philosophy, you wouldn't have got out at 30 cents. You would have held it all the way, even into the current levels now. But hey, let's face it, if it closes at this level or worse, I would suggest then it would be time to do what we say in these sessions, which is manage our exits, which equals minus 1/3. Look, it's up to you. I can't tell you what to do. Of course, it's all general advice, whether you go half or whatever, but this is the method I prefer. Why all of a sudden, if none of these are sell candles, why today? Well, big black candle indicates more supply in the market. So we opened higher. I might just zoom in here, and then I'll have to remember to zoom back out again. But we opened higher in line with the enthusiasm, the momentum, the euphoria that was gripping this one prior. Okay, and hopefully some people already are screaming at their screens because they've learned enough from these sessions to be able to do it themselves. They're screaming at their screen about what's going on there, and we go up, and instead of seeing more demand, so if you look at this candle, we gapped up, didn't we? We gapped up, and we actually had more demand in the system. Okay, we actually closed a little bit of supply in there, but we actually closed, on balance with more demand. Same with this one. Okay, same with this one. Okay, this one wasn't bad, but you can still see we actually closed with quite a balance of demand on this black candle here. The difference with this one is that euphoria was not met by more demand like we've seen in past candles. It was actually met by supply. Okay, so it was people taking profits. Why were they taking profits? Well, I would suggest to you that people who got in at, for example, 25 cents, maybe just hypothetically speaking, if it had spent sort of a great deal of time around 25 cents, those people who still have it have literally doubled their money at 50 cents, and for them it's good enough, and that's why the supplies come in. That supply is too much to bear for the demand that's in the system that, let's face it, is probably diminishing as the price is getting higher. People are getting a little bit more cautious with their entries and what they're going to pay. The natural feeling that people would have is that, well, it's gone up too much, I won't buy, so that reduces demand. And we get this excessive supply creating this black candle. What is crucial now is what this turns out to be here. So we can see a little bit of demand in the system, that's encouraging, but you can see how much supply is in the system. So it's about, and you can do this on your charts, you can literally just draw based upon the size of your candle, or the high to the close and the low to the close, your supply component of your candle, and then this other one is literally your demand component. And if the supply component is significantly larger than your demand component, it's telling you that the market will change. Now, the problem is that tomorrow, people who tune in at the end of the day, they go, oh, geez, look at this big black candle. I need to become part of supply. I need to take some profits. Demand goes, look at that big black candle. We're going to get a pullback. I don't need to demand. I can wait for a pullback. And the whole market all of a sudden becomes, it was just pure demand and no supply. And then like that, it becomes pure supply, no demand, and then we pull back potentially into a zone probably somewhere around here as this continues higher. So I think I've explained that one pretty well. I think you can figure out what to do. Roberto. Next one is MIN, which looks great. I can't see any reason why you would need to manage your exit on that one. It's came up, I think, probably that day there, and I put it on the tweet. What I do need to do is go back and zoom back out, because it's important that we look at a chart, we look at each next chart on the basis of our default zoom. So we don't go, oh, that's a great trend, but in actual fact, the trend is inconsistent with all the other trends we've seen up to that point, because we zoomed in on the last chart and forgot to zoom back out. So very important as a technical analyst, you get into that habit of zooming out again. All good here. I can't see anything. It's a solid hold for me. If you're not on it, then you're waiting for a pullback to buy. Where will that pullback come? I think you're going to wait for these short-term trends to move higher. You're going to see something that looks like this, and the higher this trough is with respect to that $50 level, the more demand that's in the system, and the more bullish this one actually is. So, very, very strong hold. Buy it if you can get the right candles, probably around 55, just assuming that this short-term trend zone catches up. Great. AXE is the next one for John. This one, unfortunately, doesn't look as good. It's kind of doing the opposite of everything we want to see and that we've seen so far in the stocks today. Short-term trend well established to the downside. Long-term trend, I think, pretty much now established to the downside, isn't it? We've gone from this long-term trend being up. We've gone from short-term trend supporting prices, right? We've gone from predominantly white candles and higher peaks and higher troughs through here to a pretty big sell candle here. You might have given it another day, but after this candle, you are absolutely 100% not mucking around. You are minus 1/3 after that day. I would suggest you minus 1/3 after this day, given the candle, and then given this candle here, you are all out and have had a wonderful trade on this one. Unfortunately, if you're asking the question, I'm expecting that you've probably still got it. That's okay. We know what to do next time. Let's find any reason we can to hold it. And, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't find it. It's all black candles. It's all upper shadows. Look at this. Look at this shadow here. Look at the shadow here. Look at the shadow here. Black candle, upper shadow, black candle, upper shadow, upper shadow, upper shadow. There's just somebody just sitting on this. They're sitting on this, and if you are unfortunate enough to watch this during the day on your market depth platform, on your trading platform, very silly thing to do. I don't recommend it, but you would notice every time it blips up. This one's for John. Every time it blips up, John, you've probably seen it blip down again, and then more sellers appear, and then anytime it starts to look good, it just by the end of the day it looks worse, and that is because there is an algo. There is an algo just sitting on this one, punching out the shares. What will change? What will turn this around? You need to see the opposite of all these black candles. That is a bunch of white candles in here with some volume would give you some hope. Otherwise, I can't see any reason at all to continue to hold this one. Okay, that's my opinion. Hey, guess what could happen? Tomorrow, it does this. It gets taken over at $3. Absolutely, that is possible. All I can give you is what I feel is the highest probability potential event, and that is that it continues to go down in line with what's happening. Let's go to next one from Andrew, AS2, which is Askari, okay, one which we've looked at a few times. I wonder what we said on this day. I wonder if it got a minus 1/3 or if it got a hold. I can't remember. I'd say that candle's probably give it another day sort of thing. And none of these are particularly terrible, let's face it, right? Because they're not having a huge impact on this candle here. So watch these demand candles. Okay, they are the key to understanding where the market sees value, where the buying occurred and where it might occur again. So once you and they're great. They're great. You just basically set your clock by them because you don't want to see, and look at 50. It comes at 50 as well. That's neat too. So you don't want to see basically the demand that started here get taken out, so get fulfilled. Because if it's fulfilled, then potentially there's less demand in the system to keep this one going up. So I think if you look at this, and whilst we're holding above that, pretty happy. This is a great candle. This is a great candle. This is a great candle. And then we get to this one, which if I had emojis on this, I'd put a sad face emoji on it. And the reason is, let's think about this. If you have a candle, right, that opens here, right? So let's blend these two candles together. So let's go. This is our common open down there, right? It's also our common low when you think about it. Okay, so we're blending. Let's call this candle 1, and we'll call this candle 2. These two candles, it's called blending together, right? It's a very important Japanese candlestick technique. So that's the common open, that's the common low also. The common high is up here. So of the two candles, there's your H. And then the common close so far, now this is a live candle, okay, is there. Now, if you have a candle that opens down here and has a low there, has a high here and a close here, what you end up with is a candle. Hopefully I can find it. I probably can't, but it's one of those hammers, inverted hammers. Some people call them. Other people call them pin bars. lots of names for them, but ultimately that candle will blend into, it's still a white body, right, and a long upper shadow. So it will look something like this, okay? And it's one of those key warning candles that I keep telling you about that indicate supply is coming into the market, and therefore you need to exercise a great deal of caution and potentially manage your exits. Okay, so those two candles, candle 1 and 2, blend into this. Okay, so that would require us to be a bit careful. Now, it's a live candle, so you have to wait to the end of the day, of course. There's no point saying, well, that looks like a dirty, great big inverted hammer, and then the demand comes in, because let's face it, there was plenty of demand yesterday, why wouldn't it be there today? And it comes in and closes this at the high today. Okay, and then if you got out now, based upon a signal on a live candle, you're kicking yourself, because by the end of the day, all the demand that you expected to be there is actually there. So wait till the end of the day. It is starting to look a bit bearish for maybe, again, not knocking all of this out. Why? Because it's got a great trend. Why would you sell all this? It just doesn't make any sense to me to sell all of this. But it might be a reason to manage an exit, that's all, and with a partial sale. I hope it picks up. There's a lot of these candles out there today, aren't there? A lot of these candle 2s today, because things have had a great run, and people go risk off at the same time. If they start to get caught up on one stock, they start to find other stocks they can take profits on. Next one is ESS. This one's also for Andrew. It looks again looks great. We're just dealing with a frustrating candle here, isn't it? But no surprise that the supply is coming in here. I mean, this is a major point of supply. Think about how many people got sucked in at those highs. Okay, and here, they are obviously hoping to make a profit, but down here, they're devoted, right? They're devastated, and really they're hoping for one thing, and one thing only, that is to eventually have the opportunity to break even, and that's what they get here, and that's why they become part of supply. Plus, you've got technical traders who will look at this and go, well, I'm not going to buy it there because it's so close to the point of supply. So that reduces demand as well. So it just means we have to do, I would definitely qualify that as a first test. Okay, we need to chip away. You've got to imagine there's this huge pool of supply, huge pool of supply up here. If it's that big, the supply that was created there. So just give you a way to visualize it. If that's the supply, like once we've done that first test, right, you think about what happens to that pool of supply, and if it lets me select it, I can show you what I mean. No. I could keep clicking. No, let's move. There's too many things there. Or not. Stupid thing. Look at that. Let's try and move it around. No. Anyway, I was just going to make that oval smaller. Okay, so if you had... I can't believe it. Just let me select you. No. Okay, imagine that we've had a first test, that pool of supply gets smaller. Then you have a second test, it gets smaller again. A third test, until the supply is gone. Imagine if this damn thing was gone. Right, and then you get through. And what does it look like when you get through? Well, it looks like this. Because guess where that pool was? The pool was down here. Here we go. This is guaranteed to work. The pool was down here, wasn't it? So we're looking at one I prepared earlier. No, maybe you just cannot select these things ever again. There we go. So the pool was here, all right? And then, we actually zapped it all in one go, didn't we? There, to be fair. But, imagine testing and removing that supply. Okay, what do I do with this one? I guess that's what Andrew wants to know. You just have to wait in this candle. I think you've got to... what sort of game do you want to play? Do you want to take a little bit of profit here, see if you can buy it back later on? Otherwise, it's excellent. There's really no complaints about this at all. It just looks amazing. We're just dealing with this. I'll leave it up to you, Andrew, how you want to tackle that one. If this candle gets really, really bad, maybe you've got to just do what the market's doing, right? When in Rome, if the market's taking profits right now, take a bit of profit. Next one he wants is AAJ, which looks great. Again, I'm a broken record now, aren't I? Until today, it looks great. All of this is wonderful, 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 amazing, wonderful, all great. I wonder, did I tweet about this one? It kind of looks like something I would tweet about literally on this day here. put it in the short list at least, because it's doing all that stuff. You know, that we talked about volume, short-term trends turning up, white candles coming in. Yeah, it looks really neat. This is you know, a little bit of an issue, and of course we're seeing some supply come in here. You know, of course, and you know, there's a pool of supply there, and maybe this is the first test that we have to deal with, right? I would definitely not get out of all of this. I would not sell a whole position here. That's just silly to do that. I would, if I'm going to take some profits, I would take a little, but I definitely have to hold a large part of my position and look to buy that little bit back that I might be selling on any pullbacks. And we know where the pullback needs to sort of complete around here, because this is a pool of demand here, right? It works the other way. We keep talking about these pools of supply, but this is a pool of demand. This is a pool of demand, right? Because it was an old pool of supply, and they tend to act as demand going forward. So any trough that occurs above that would give us that great price action that we want to see. So where the troughs are occurring nicely above the previous peak. So we talk about this peak trough or trough peak separation, right? So we want to see a nice separation in here. Mincor, wow. This is just amazing, Barry. How good is this? You know, just goosebumps. I love it. There's nothing about this that I don't love. It's just so amazing. It's, you know, look, print this out and just stick it on your wall at home, because it's the type of chart that you want to see. And we've seen so many candles today, haven't we? This particular day where we know some things have had this great run, but you know, there's this blow off top where demand is just, you know, lost its confidence, and supply is really saying today's the day I want to take some profits. But we're not seeing that today. And now this is a live candle, right? So I've actually got an update now. So I'm going to go off screen and click on update, because at 20 minutes past each hour, my data provider gives me another hourly update, right? I don't have real-time prices. And that's a big point of contention. Why don't I have real-time prices? I hate real-time prices. The dumbest thing you can do is sit, oh, look at that, even better. The dumbest thing you can do is sit there and watch your stocks all day. I promise you, you will not get better trades. You will not get better entries. You will not get better exits. You will not get just this multitude of opportunities that you can only have by watching stocks trade in real time. It is the dumbest thing you can do. Please, please, please stop doing that. Get as far away from the market whilst it's open as you possibly can. And the reason is just it's all about emotions and discipline. Real-time prices make us emotional, and when we're emotional, we lose our discipline. When we lose our discipline, we lose money. So by trading end of day, which is what I do, and I do these hourly updates, I know, in our sessions every Tuesday, of course, you know, that's what I have to do. But trading on an end of day basis, you're cool, you're calm, you're collected. You've got 10 or 15 minutes of being really annoyed about the stuff you might have missed out on, sure, okay? But you get over that, and there's nothing you can do about it. More importantly, there's nothing you can do about it because the market's closed. All those silly things that you would have done impulsively while you're watching the market, you can't even do them. You have to actually wait till the next day, until the market opens the next day. You've got to sleep on it, right? And still want to do that stupid thing the next morning, all right? And you're probably not going to. So, you know, if there's any nugget of advice you should take away from today's presentation, is stop looking at real-time prices. It doesn't make you a better trader. 10 out of 10, no complaints about that one. Let's have a look at the next one, Neometals, which I was going to say is pretty close to 10 out of 10. You go, hey, Carl, you know, Mincor looked like Neometals did 2 days ago. You would have given it 10 out of 10. I would have, and it's not having a great day today. Yeah, I know it's not having a great day today, but it's just about balance of probability. Look, I think I would stick with this one. There's a little bit of erosion of confidence. Because that candle looks a lot like that candle there. Let's see how it closes by the end of the day. You know, let's give it the benefit of the doubt. This is all still amazing. It's all still good. This was on the update. You know, that's supply removal. Why was there supply there? Well, it's that pool of supply that we had to remove. Here's your first test. You know, sometimes you need your first test to get your second test to be successful. I think this is more about this last candle is more about the stuff that's going on today in these high flying stocks, and less about probably Neometals being something you need to be worried about. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to stick with that one today, Barry. Okay. Novonix. Barry likes to look at Novonix as well. I didn't have many nice things to say about Novonix last time. But no doubt, I would have told you that. I would have said, look, I don't like the look of it now, but for it to start to look good, it will need to start to do stuff like this. And the good news is that since we last looked at it, it is actually starting to do stuff like that with some good candles. And we talked about probably the need for some supply removal, or maybe that actually had happened. It looked like it actually had happened probably on this bar here. Oh yeah, okay. So that we did spot that and say that there was some nice supply removal, and then we might have said something like, well, Barry will know what I said because he was there. We might have said something like, we need to see something like that now from here, which actually we did. So it looks pretty good. I would definitely upgrade this one from what I might have said, look, just avoid at that time. I would upgrade this one to a solid hold. What would it need to become a buy for me? Still a little bit of work. We still need to see, because this uptrend zone is important now, right? So we need to see it pull back into here, hold that and go again. You don't have to wait until it's up here to buy it. I'd be watching this zone here. What goes on in here, in here, in here, in here is now super crucial, important. You might say, Carl, well, I hope it doesn't get down there, because if it gets down there, it's gone from 7, sort of 680, and that's annoying because I'm losing money. I say, well, if this pulls back here, holds, don't worry about getting out here. You'll be up to get out at 10 or 12 or 13 or 20, all right? So, just understand that nothing goes up in a straight line, and you might have to give back a little to make a bit more, okay? I don't think this is enough of a candle to be really concerned about. It's not a great candle. It's not a great candle. It's got an upper shadow, it's got a small body, it's showing there's some supply in the system, but it's not inconsistent with everything else we've seen in the market. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on this one. See how it responds in here. If it responds horribly in here with a bunch of black candles, I tell you what, that level is not acting as demand. It was acting as supply before. So in here, it acted as supply. It's not now acting as demand. There's a problem there, right? But if in that area we get the candles we do want to see, which would be, the ones that look like this, and they're going to change a little bit in a second, and you know what I'm about to do. They end up looking like this. I'm getting better at this, aren't I? There we go. And people screaming at the screen, hey, Carl, why don't you just make that your default? Then you wouldn't have to do it. That's a very good point. Okay. If we see that in there, then it's magic, right? Because I do think it's going to go a lot higher. So look, upgrading this one to a very solid hold. So I think you're on 3 good ones there, Barry. James says, interesting watching Liontown. Let's have a look. LTR, part of the those massive moves in lithium stocks. What you said about the $2 mark, there would be some supply coming to the market. It looks like today that is happening. Look, a little bit. It did get through, to be fair. So the supply, I would suggest to you, actually occurred. So this is past tense now. So this supply was there. It occurred here. So this high here, let's have a look. I reckon it's going to be in the 190s. You can't see, it's not on screen. I'll hover over it, it'll appear. There we go. 1.995. So if you did not believe me before when I told you that major stocks on the Australian share market will move based upon round numbers, but nothing more than the stupidity of the psychology of people and round numbers, you would have laughed at me. But just another one that just proves the point. The high on that day is 1.995. Didn't even hit 2. Imagine on the market depth screen, all the sellers at $2 there. So I guess what I was saying, James, about the $2 is that we've had that already. So here's our pool of supply. And what we need to do now is do those tests. Remember we talked about those tests, and we tested it. So this is all good. This all just proves my point. So here's your testing. There's your testing in there. Let me escape that one. There's your first, second, maybe there's a couple of tests. See these black candles there? Each one of those is a test, right? Supply coming in there and reducing that pool. So we've done our tests, and then that facilitates the breakout, which is actually on this candle here. Now, again, it's unfortunate if you've got this one and you're going to be going well and you see a candle like today, because it looks like a lot of those other candles. And I tend to give stocks a bit more leeway when it's more of a market-wide thing rather than a stock-specific thing. I get really worried if Liontown was the only stock today that had that candle, then I would say, no, something is wrong here. But if I see that all the stocks have that, this fickle sentiment of the market could switch tomorrow when lithium's back on again. I mean, are you saying because you've seen that candle on a bunch of lithium stocks that the whole lithium story is over? Maybe you're right. probably not. So I'd say, look, just give that one a bit more leeway and see how we go. What we want to see now is $2 act as support, right? So that pool of supply, hopefully acting as a pool of demand for people that go, you know what, I may never get it at $2 again. If it gets back to $2, I'll buy it, because we go from this, we transition from this idea that $2 is expensive, you know, all through here, right? So all through here, right? All through here, the mentality of the market is $2 is expensive. This is how people think. You know, they can't help it. They're programmed to do that. And then once we break that, we don't think like that anymore. We're used to it. We're comfortable with it. And we start to think, you know what, $2 is actually a bargain. How silly is that? And we start to think, well, $4 is expensive, or $5 is expensive, but $2 is a bargain. If you don't believe me, delve deep into your own psychology and trading in your own personal trading history. Now, let's go to the next one, which is from King. Can I have a look at WorleyParsons? I sure can. Still good, King. No complaints about that one. I know it's a bit slow and steady and a bit boring, isn't it? But I think it's fine. Boring's good. There's a point of supply here, and no doubt a pool of supply that it's going to have to deal with. But does that mean you rush out and take all your profits? No, I don't think so. Why not? Why wouldn't you take profits? Because this is all still good here. You know, it's easy to get into stocks, right? Any idiot. It's like falling off a log. I mean, any idiot can just get into a stock. You could literally pick 20 stocks at random on the market, right? And you could probably make money out of that random pick, assuming you exited each of those 20 stocks at the right time. That is cutting your losses shorts on the one that didn't go in the right direction after you got in, and letting the profits on those ones that you got into run. Okay, so, you know, focus on your exits and focus on finding good stocks, but once you've got them, hanging onto them as long as you possibly can, or until the market tells you not to. I'm happy with that one, King. Stick with it. Anonymous is giving me AKE, which, no, we did AXE. We haven't done this one. AKE looks great. Anonymous, you know, we did tip this. I put it in Twitter. I think a couple of weeks ago I looked at this one and said, not ready yet. And then it started to do the right things, didn't it? It did all those things I probably drew all over the chart and said to do. It did it around about here, and I did upgrade it in my tweets. I actually ran it as a feature chart, I reckon 2 or 3 times. Yeah, look, obviously, you know, broken record. What do you do with that? Anonymous, you want me to look into my crystal ball and tell you exactly what's going to happen tomorrow? You want me to tell you to sell it today because it's guaranteed to be lower tomorrow, or hold on to it because it's guaranteed to be higher? Hey, I don't know where it's going to be tomorrow. But what I can say is that, yes, that candle definitely indicates that there is an excess of supply in the market. It has had a great run. If you had to do something with it, I would probably knock out a third. I wouldn't go more than that. The reason why I wouldn't go more than that is because everything else is just fantastically amazing. And like we said, that this pool of previous supply tends to act as demand. I reckon, if I've done a round number, giving the schedule of round numbers, because 12, I actually do count 12, then you probably don't need 14. So the psychology of this, and this, you can go Google this as studies, that these are the numbers that people, they can't help place emphasis on. So odd numbers are more important than even numbers, right? So six is more important than 7, okay? But 6 is not that important. Eight's a funny one. It does tend to, eights do matter. 80s, you think about how many times things got to 80 and then pull back sort of thing before they then went to 100. So 8's are important. Then you go 5. 4 is there, but it's not as important because 5 is more important than 4. And then we skip down to 2. 3 is irrelevant. You will find that time and time again. And then you go 1, and then you go 0.5. And I don't tend to go much lower than that, to be honest. And then we can go up. I don't tend to look at 14. I think 14 is kind of irrelevant because I think 15 starts to be the one you look at now. And then I skip it. I go to 20 from there, and then 25, and then we tend to, 30 is less important because it's got a 3 in front of it, and like 50. The numbers just repeat. Okay, so 12 actually matters. So that pool of supply should act as a pool of demand. You'd be buying it back there. The next one is GW1. We did have a look at that last week, maybe, or the week before. We said it looks good, so it's actually had a nice little pop. The problem now is this, it's our new catchphrase for this week, isn't it? This idea of this pool of supply. And, of course, we're going to see a little bit of supply come in there. What I don't mind, though, is it's actually doing pretty well today. So see that little lower shadow today? I think that's it's reacting pretty well. Again, we need to trade with this pool, and that's going to be elevated volume. And hopefully volume stays elevated and we stay just up here and around here. We just do time here. testing and removing that supply, and then up we go again after that. Look, it's a very solid hold for me. I don't think you need to get out at this stage on that one. Next one is XTC. These are from Andrew as well. Looks great. No complaints. I wonder if Andrew's using my system now because he's starting to spot stuff that I like. Look at that. He's all over it. And that's great. You know, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach a man a fish, he'll eat forever. So great. No complaints. Looks great. And I'm not afraid. A lot of you see a lot of talking heads will go, oh, no, it's too small. I don't know what it does. It's too illiquid. Stuff that. You know, if it's going up, it's going up. Having said that, I have to be careful because if I tell lots of people to buy it, it can create issues as well, and it can be self-reinforcing. That's not my goal here, as you know, right? When I do tweets, I do these. It's just about what I think looks good or what doesn't look good. It's up to you to go and look at that and say, hey, look, liquidity is a problem for me, okay? Because liquidity is a very personal thing. If you're Warren Buffett, right, liquidity, you need liquidity in the billions. If you're Joe Blow next door, you probably don't. Okay, no complaints there. A little bit of a pool of supply up here, Andrew, but look, it's fine. But having said that, look, could it pull back? Of course it could pull back a little bit as these, this short-term trend zone moves up. You know, you get a little bit of it like this, but you know, do you want to lose your position? Do you want to lose your position for a little bit of a pullback? Do you want to play the game of sell a third here, try and buy back a third? That's up to you. I like the idea of hoping that, and hope is a wonderful thing in trading. People say, hey, never be hopeful. You know, don't hope for something to happen because that's a bad thing. No. Hope that this thing goes to $1 and you've still got it, right? And you know, don't limit your expectations is the wrong word, but don't limit what the possibilities are. Don't be narrow-minded and say, oh, I got in at 1. If it gets to 2, I'm going to get out. That means you're just like everybody else, trading around these silly, psychological hurdles. So imagine it could go to 10 and that you're still going to be on it. That's how you make real money in the market. You're not just buying for a few pips. Could you look at BKT from Terry? Sure, I can. Terry, BKT. And we don't have any fundamentals today, but, you know, who needs the fundamentals? BlackRock Mining looks great. I did put this in a number of times in my tweets. I stopped putting it in because I just felt that it just got a bit boring because this sort of narrow volatility. And I just felt that it didn't have the oomph factor that some of the other ones have. But it is a bit of a slow grind, maybe like Worley, maybe a bit less than Worley, but definitely a hold, a strong hold. I need to see it get a bit more mojo. So see how, okay, we talked about good price action, didn't we? We talked about we want to see this trough peak separation, right? So we want to see, that and the fact that, these there's some nice distance between these two, and that's what we call. It's not that's. I mean, one screen is not good price action. That's that's great price action, right? That is just demand. Demand is killing it right now, right? Right. There's hardly any supply. It's it's buy the dip, buy the dip. It's all good stuff. This one, are they really buying the dip? Are they really excited about it? It's and I know I'm stylizing here, because there are peaks and troughs in between these, but yeah, it's not great price action, is it? It's mediocre price action. But otherwise, look, everything else is good about it. This is good. A bit of supply removal in here maybe does free itself up, but for now, I'm happy to hold that one. That one was for Terry, and he's also asked about ARQ, which we've done, so we don't need to do that one again. Anonymous has got ASM. Australian Strategic, not bad. Look, it's we looked at one Archer, didn't we? Archer, and we talked about the things that Archer would need to do, because this looks very much like that Archer chart, doesn't it? Through here and through here. Probably better than Archer because look at these white candles. So there's somebody out there just sneakily just buying a little bit, right? So this is. And not just sneakily, that's kind of the key one there, isn't it? That one is, well, we're not sneaky anymore, we're buying it. And we saw a nice little bit of supply removal there. Where's the supply? This is where all the supply is, okay? So we talked about this idea today many times of wanting to see that pool of supply where people think, oh, it's too expensive, I can't buy it there. We want to see that eventually turn into a pool of demand. So for me to upgrade this one to a buy, I think it's a solid hold now, but for me to go buy, I need to see it do something like that, okay, with all the right candles in that $9 level. But otherwise, it's a solid hold. The next one is PH2. which came up on my scans a little while ago. I want to say probably on this day that I put it in Twitter, and that's a good candle, and I think this is a very strong one. This is very solid. Maybe would like to see a little bit more supply removal there from the volume because we are pushing into a zone here. But otherwise, I do like this candle and this candle here. I'm not as fussed about this candle because the market's just doing that today. But look where the supply came in at. I mean, look, there you go. I mean, look, where's the high? I mean, the high has just probed into that pool of supply. Now, the good news is we took some of it out. We traded with them. The only way we can get rid of this dead wood, who, let's face it, bought PureHydrogen because it was the hottest thing on the market at the time and then regretted it for about 4 months. We just need to give them their money. We need to take the shares off them. So this is a nice test here. We're seeing a nice test of this with some good candles just under it and turning trends. Thumbs up on this one. I'd give it some more leeway. That's for Anonymous. Anonymous, don't be anonymous. Put your name in. Ross, hi Carl. Your opinion on Chalice Mining, CHN? Look, hey, we're getting a bit of a theme here on some of these previous high flyers, isn't it? I mean, they have done, they've done so well, and then they go into these phases where they just fall out of interest, probably with the market. Better than AXE, remember that one? Better than AXE, but not as good as the last one, which was ASM. But there's some improvement here. So the improvement is coming from the fact that we are just moving a little bit back into high troughs. The candles are somewhat improving, but it's hardly what I'd call encouraging. We are in a key area here. So this is a key area here, this long-term zone. If we break beneath that zone, it starts to get a bit ugly. So beneath that, I'd be concerned. But, if we can, probably the next key point of supply is $8 now, a little bit of a round number. Above that, I'd upgrade it to a buy. And some people might say, hey, Carl, if you think it's going to go up, hey, if you think this is going back to 20, why wouldn't you just buy it now? You could buy it at 750 and then you wouldn't have to buy it at, say, 820. I say, well, I don't know if it's going up yet. And there's very little in the market to suggest it is going up. So I'm happy to trade off some profitability, right? So, yeah, sure, if I buy it in here, I can make more money. But if I get it wrong, and it goes down, I'll be frustrated because the trend was down. If I buy it here, I'm going to make less money, sure, but I should have a much higher probability that this trade is going to be successful. So it's that trade-off between probability and profitability, and I always say err on the side of probability. Get the probability part of it right, and the profitability will come. If you only focus on profitability, trying to buy things at the low, you won't get probability, and you'll end up losing money. Look. It's warm, Ross. If I had to give it a score out of 10, it's probably about a 5 because that's where it is. It's halfway, isn't it, between bullish and bearish. Glenn's got Oz Minerals. Let's have a look at that one. OZL. Looks good. Not great. We're not seeing some of those amazing white candles that we've seen on other ones. We're not seeing that really clean price action. I won't draw it because you know what I'm talking about. But there's enough in there, I think, to hang on to it, but also to be really frustrated, isn't it? You're going... Wait a second, there is one almighty bull run going on right now in the material sector, and I'm missing out. And look, there's a material sector at the same time, and I'm missing out. And that is frustrating, and I kind of feel your pain a little bit on this one. But I think what we're facing here is a copper price, which is largely still sideways. And that is all dots because it's from the London Metals Exchange, and we can only see end-of-day closes. So if we change it to a line chart, we get to see what's going on. But I think copper still looks good, and surprise, surprise, the Oz Minerals chart looks like that. And if it breaks out through sort of 10, 8, 11, this is potentially a big move we're having here because it's such a long consolidation. So yeah, look, I think you can choose. It's your choice, Glenn, to continue to be frustrated by Oz Minerals a little bit longer on the basis that it might break out and surprise you to the upside. Otherwise. Yeah, if you've got something better to do with it, then maybe you should do something with it. You know what I mean? Look, the rest of Glenn's comment says, quote unquote, feels like it's lagging its peers at the moment. You said it. NVA from Andrew. Okay, I'm going to whiz through these now very quickly. Buy, hold, sell. I think there's enough in there to hold it simply from the fact that there are a lot of white candles coming in. This does look like a climax here, potentially. it's not terrible, but it's not a buy. I can't see why you would buy it. We've got a big pool of supply coming in, around a big round number of $1. So not a buy for me. But if you have it and you've been suffering, maybe see where you can go with it. Okay, until you get some big black candles, and then you might want to call it an exit, because ultimately is let's face it, a long-term downtrend. NWE, this one is for Marco. Still looks good, Marco. It's been suffering a bit as oil prices have come back, so it is part of that story, isn't it? So don't be afraid. Because the oil price is volatile, to exercise that right to look at these candles that shadow. They're probably not enough to get you out, but certainly if you get a double black like that in a row, I think you have to really seriously think about going minus 1/3 and taking a bit of profit on this one. I think we started getting in around sort of the 2.5s and 3s, so there's a little bit of money to be made there, and then hanging on to the rest because otherwise it is still holding in this uptrend pretty well. Okay, so lighten the load if you haven't. Maybe you're too late, but otherwise, the trends are still good. Marco says he's still holding. It's a long-term hold, or do I need to manage an exit? You needed to manage an exit past tense, Marco. Past tense. If I'm not here, get your candlestick charts up there and look at them. Okay. GrangeResources from Chris. Good to see you back, Chris. That's Critical Resources, by the way, not Grange, CRR, not GRR. Hey, this one looks good. Keep an eye on this one. It's not having a great day today, but a little bit of a pullback. Not what I wanted to do. A little bit of a pullback in here with some nice candles. A little bit of shadow today. Maybe it can get better. Keep an eye on that one. That looks interesting. You could see me tweeting about that one in the not too distant future. And we do want GRR. Sorry, that was a bonus one there. Amazing, fantastic, brilliant, wonderful. I've run out of superlatives. How good is that? And this is one of those things where, how many times do you reckon people looked at charts and looked at the charts and said, it's gone up too much? And I've stuck with it on Twitter, to be fair, all the way through. Just there's nothing. This candle's perfect. Now, hey, that candle might change. It's a live candle, but it's perfect. It's perfect. Looks great, Chris. No complaints about that at all. And there's people looking, they go, I can't buy that. It's too high. It's gone up too much. You know what? You would have said that here. 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 You know where you wouldn't have said that? I don't know. You probably would have said that, it looks cheap down there. Well, maybe you were right. But look how many times you were wrong by saying, look how faulty your thinking is by saying that's gone up too much, I can't buy it. And yet you're trying to pick, bottoms because things are cheap. I look at this, and this is what you have to, this is the big shift. What was the other really key thing? We talked about random numbers. We talked about not watching the market. Okay, you need to train your brain right today, to think. Yes. Your brain doesn't look at it, but your eyes do, right? So let's assume your brain is looking at it. Look at this type of chart and scream, right? Scream, that looks cheap. That is a bargain, okay? You need to train your brain to look at these types of charts and say that is a bargain, because let's face it, 99 out of 100 people out there trying to trade shares, and there's tens of millions of them now all trying to do it, look at that chart and they say that's expensive. You need to think the opposite. You need to say that looks cheap. The PLS, let's go to the end. Looks great for Khan. Look, ditto on many of these other lithium stocks today. Today's not a great candle, let's face it. I'll leave it up to you whether you want to just be a little bit of a chicken, let's face it, and knock out a third. I think maybe that's unnecessary given the rest of the market is doing the same thing, and there is still such a great trend there. Having said that, and I know it's just broken record, there's a big pool of supply here and a round number, okay? If you're making some money, take a third, but I would definitely want to hang on to a good portion of it because the rest of the trends are great. Next one is Sayona, another popular one. Magic. Look, I think we talked about this one last week, and we said absolutely do not sell this stock, I'm pretty sure, and there you go. So it's had a great pop. And again, ditto, maybe for Khan, you might want to knock out a bit there on the basis that candle looks terrible. It's a live candle. I know I keep saying that. So wait till the end of the candle, end of today's trading, and make your assessment. And then we've got AVL, which has been another high flyer. And again, another one which we've stuck with through thick and thin. And look, I hope people are making fantastic money on some of these recommendations and Ask the Experts and some of my Twitter recommendations. It just gives me a great feeling of warmth and happiness. And let me know you've done well. Okay, that always makes me feel good. And when I put in the work and the significant amount of work to do this stuff for you, that it doesn't feel like work. Is the party over? No, the party is actually one of the better candles today when you look at it. So I would actually even say there's no reason to manage your exit on that one just yet. And think about that from all the thinking you'd have from every other quote-unquote expert out there that's telling you, oh, take some profits, it's gone up. I'm telling you, hey, I can't see any reason to do it right now. Maybe tomorrow there will be, but not right now. And he's sneaking in, sneaking in ROG, which is Red Sky. I've never heard of it. It's very quiet, isn't it? I'm going to pass on that one. There's not a lot going on there. And because I don't want to end on that note, Catapult, I sort of want to end on a good note. Maybe, Helen, maybe. It's warming up, isn't it? There's some good stuff in here. Look at this candle, look at this candle, look at this candle. I like the shallow pullback. I like the fact it's doing well today. I'm guessing, Helen, maybe you've been suffering with this one for a little while. I think you've got every reason now to feel optimistic about Catapult again. And I know it's one I've been very bearish on in the past on the call. I've called it an outright sell, I think, many times sort of through here, each time I've come on. It just felt overvalued. There's that $1 round number coming into play. I think you can hang on to this. It's not my favourite one out there, but there's definitely enough there to become optimistic about it. Because I want to end on a really nice looking chart, CWY. That looks good. 7 out of 10. Hold on to it. Today's a nice candle. Great trend overall. I think it can do well. That one's for Jen. Jen saying thank you for all the stuff, all the content, which is great. I think we've done AAJ. I'm going to stop it there. We're done. Okay, let's head back to the Prezzo and talk about next time. We'll be here, of course. If you didn't get your questions answered, tune in next Tuesday to tell your friends about it. I think hopefully if you're getting something out of it, they might get something out of it as well. So let's get a bunch of people in these sessions as well. Let's get a bunch of people on the Think Markets platform. They are the sponsors of our presentation today. They do have a great platform, great offering, and just the best customer service you're going to find. You can actually ring up and talk to somebody about any problems you might have. We've got a 10 free trade offer going at the moment for new clients. If you say you heard me on Ask the Experts, you get a bonus at 10 free trades. There are some T's and C's like when you have to use and buy. So call in for further details, or there's the email address. If you're already a client, we do have a refer a friend, and I'm sure you've got 4 people right now still trading with their banks, paying crazy amounts. They can come to us, halve their trading fees, and you get the benefit of some free trades as well. If you're watching me on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and the like button. Let me know you like what we're doing. Otherwise, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Hopefully you learned lots, and all the best until we catch up again. Bye-bye for now.